This is the 2025 Audi S3, and it got a very small facelift. I'll show you. It's this. They changed the rings. Oh, and they gave it a couple new wheel options here. But there's more to the Audi S3 than you would think with this facelift, and it's all in what's underneath. So let's talk right about it for a second. Starting up front here, we've got a slightly updated engine offering for this year. They tweaked the tune and it makes a little bit more power than it did in years past, and they updated the front suspension, so you get a little more negative camber and you get a slightly different steering system. But the real magic lies here in the rear of the Audi S3, because this has the rear end differential from the Audi RS3, and it has torque vectoring. So what that means is the car can of course send power front to rear. That's what all-wheel drive does. But torque vectoring has several multi-plate clutches that let the car send power left to right, and it can control how much power goes to either side. So what that means is this front-biased all-wheel drive system can behave a little bit more like a rear-biased all-wheel drive system, and it can overdrive this outside rear wheel. We've seen that with Acura in the past with their super handling all-wheel drive. That's what that system does too. And Audi previously was reserving the system for the RS3, but now they're letting you have it on the slightly cheaper and pretty quick and fun in its own right S3. So let's get this car on some back roads and talk all about how it is to drive with that new torque splitter. All right, so the Audi S3. We are on some back roads here outside the DC area, getting a few minutes away from traffic, thankfully. Oh my goodness. But a couple things they've done. So of course the extra power is, nice. The car was quick enough before. I never thought it was like lacking for power. We don't get any extra torque. The European cars do, I guess, based on the quality of fuel that we get or don't get. They want to make sure this can, not go boom. But general drivetrain is and was lovely. It's basically a Golf R drivetrain under here. And this paired to the 7-speed dual clutch is a nice combination. I think everything plays really well together. The transmission is not my favorite in traffic. We've just got really good torque converter automatics at this point, to where a DCT generally is not going to be as smooth in stop and go. But once you're on back roads, it does feel pretty nice. But then, of course, the real appeal of this car is not going to be in the power and the torque, especially not for 2025. The big news is that magic rear end, coupled with some tweaks to the steering and the front suspension. So, first of all, they did change the steering just a touch. I don't know if it has a ton of feedback. It's kind of been a complaint of this car since it got updated in 2022. I think it's fine, but it's not going to be super communicative. Them adding more camber does help, and that helps for the sake of sustained cornering, of course. It's going to give you a little bit more grip and then also help with tire wear. So that's nice, just to get a little bit of extra negative camber on the front end. This rear differential, though, does make the car behave a little differently. I'm in the dynamic plus mode right now, which does change how the differential pulls power around. And what that means is it's going to send power more to the rear than the front. I wouldn't say it makes the car feel like a rear-wheel drive car, because it doesn't, but you can certainly get it a little out of sorts and get it to slide if you really try. Not something I'm going to do following a Passat on a back road in public. But when you're not trying to drift the car, what this does do is make the Audi feel a little less like front-biased all-wheel drive. It makes it feel pretty neutral. It makes it feel very predictable. And this is all going to happen more on corner exit. Corner entry is going to be largely based on how you set the car up and what you do with your braking inputs and your steering inputs. The differential in the rear and the car is not going to do a whole lot for you there. But on corner exit, as you are rolling onto the power, getting out of that corner, that's where the differential can split. It can send power more toward the rear of the car, and then also it can send it to the outside wheel. So in this case, if we're doing that, it feels pretty neutral, and it helps the car want to rotate that much more. So it does make a difference. I wouldn't say it's the world's biggest difference. For example, if you had a 2023 S3, unless your lease is running up and you really want another one, then sure. Don't necessarily run out to sell your car per se, but even here, it does make the car want to rotate better. It's good. It's really good. So some people have said that they think the differential in particular gives this car more of a Jekyll and Hyde personality, and I don't know if I agree with that part. I think it still feels very Germanic. It feels very like buttoned down fun, and the benefit of that, as we've seen with a lot of Audi products, is that they're really good day to day. This just feels like a nice small sports sedan, which is great. It's what most people want most of the time. I don't know if it feels quite as playful and maybe light on its feet as something like the Acura Integra Type S. Now granted, compared to some other vehicles in this segment, BMW 2 Series Grand Coupe, the Mercedes CLA AMG, those sorts of things, I think this is a really solid offering. Those all have all-wheel drive. This having the trick rear differential does make it feel a little bit more rowdy and special and fun to me. The Acura is the more playful of the whole group. But when you really lay into this, I mean, it does like to get up and party. So this is good. Brakes feel great. Yeah, oh god, it does love it. It really likes to rotate. It is relatively easy to drive quickly. Definitely, you know, focusing, but yeah, it's a nice package. The brakes feel really good. The suspension damping is spot on. I don't think anything feels, you know, poorly tuned here. So this is absolutely a car that you can just, you know, go rip on your back roads. And I mean, I'll do this till the car runs out of gas. It feels nice. And then as far as what Audi didn't change in the car, that's a lot of my favorite pieces of this car that I hope they continue to leave as a focus. Namely, we've got buttons for a lot of key functions, for your climate control, for some of your drive modes and other car-related things, parking assistance, all that good stuff. They have this whole setup down here for your transmission selector and your volume and audio controls that I don't love. The audio setup is a little bit like an iPod with the touch click wheel, if you remember those from like 2005 maybe. It's fine, but I like the fact that you've got hard buttons on the steering wheel. That's where I typically will control the audio from otherwise. They changed the transmission gear selector from a little toggly thing to a little domino looking thing, and that seems like change for the sake of change. The other one was easier to find without looking for it, but this is also totally acceptable. It's kind of 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Now with the audio controls comes the sound system. I did want to bring that up because Audi did change from Bang & Olufsen to Sonos for their branded premium audio in the S3 this year. And some people have said, oh, it's the same, it's, you know, no change in fidelity and all that. I don't agree. I think the Sonos system is not as good as B&O. It's not a huge difference, but if you're an audiophile, that's the one like key downside to this, is that I just don't think it's as good as what they had before. The seats remain the same in here from last year to this year, and they're great. The car is very comfortable for tall people. Of course, it's going to be tight if you want to put 4 or 5 people in here, just because it's a small car. I did have 5 of us in here, all taller men, and I was told that the back seat was very shouldery, with everyone sitting in there 3 across, which of course, this is, you know, the smallest car Audi sells. So that's that. And then the other thing that's really neat at night is this new ambient lighting going on the door panels. I would not normally comment on something like that because it's so not part of the driving experience, but it actually is at night. It's really, really neat. They've got, you know, 300 perforations or cuts in these door panels to let light come through at different ways, and it's a really fun touch. It's fun while remaining luxurious and, you know, upscale feeling, which is the point of having this over a Golf R. This is going to be a little bit more luxurious in certain ways. Now, some of you might say, well, why not just get the Golf R? Because it gets the trick differential, it has the same power and torque, it has the same driveline, and it's a little bit less money, and in theory it's more practical because it's a hatchback. I'm going to counter that entire argument with the interior of the Golf R. This is by far the better interior as far as how you interact with it. It has proper buttons on the steering wheel, it has proper controls and switchgear in the center stack with a reasonably sized touchscreen, and everything is just pleasant in here. And that is combined with a touchscreen that is lower down. You've got a low dash, good visibility out of here, low door sills, the whole bit. So this is a better overall experience to me than the Golf R is. Everything that you could use as an argument to support the Golf R does apply, but this is where I would rather spend my money. It's, you know, a $3,000 or $4,000 difference, I think, at most, and I would rather do this. And this comes in some really fun colors too. The Golf R doesn't. This comes in a great bright yellow, it comes in a great blue. They might still be doing the green if I remember correctly. I'm kind of bummed that this one's gray, but I don't know, it's at least pretty in the sun. It's got a lot of flake to it, so that's cool. So yes, this car is quite fun when driven in light anger, and then you can put the drive mode back to its normal comfort setting and have a great time there too. So nice package. I thought it was a nice package before. It is only made better by Audi's little changes for 2025. So absolutely a nice update, despite most people only looking at, you know, the cosmetics of this whole thing. Everything that's under the skin is a really big deal, and it's a nice update to keep this car feeling fresh and keep it feeling really just very capable. This is a lovely thing to drive on the street at however many tenths you can achieve when you're having some fun. So that is all for right now. Thank you for coming along for this quick review of the 2025 Audi S3. As always, be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Tell all your friends if you love it. Don't tell them if you didn't. And follow us on other socials. And head over to outmotorsports.com. We've got a whole community over there that would love to be your new best friends. And we've got some events coming up around the country throughout the rest of the calendar year. So we'd love to see you at any and all of those. Till next time, stay safe, be well. See you again soon.